My brothers and sisters in Christ, that presentation by our youth was so inspiring to me. I don't know if it was inspiring to you, but it gives me a whole new hope and a whole new perspective on life. Because you know what that tells me? There is hope. There is the possibility that this younger generation can do things that we have not been able to do. Wow. And so now in about 5 minutes, I'm going to give you 15 minutes worth of sermon. Good luck with that. So, we're talking about a story that Jesus put together that he shared with the people by that lakeside so many years ago. But it was a story that they knew, because you see, these people live right next to the earth. And they were familiar with all of the parameters that you and I would not be familiar with. So I'm going to give you a little bit of that fairly quickly. For example, I was surprised, very surprised, by the number of people who says, oh, that's what wheat looks like. I've never seen wheat before. Well, okay, let me show you what wheat looks like on the slide. You see there on the left that kind of green leaf with the kind of golden shoots on them? That's wheat. That's what was sowed in the field. But then an enemy came and sowed, see what's on the right? That's called darnel. Darnel looks at its young, when it's first planted, it looks exactly like wheat. And it grows up and it looks exactly like wheat. The only time you can tell the difference is when the seeds start to form, when the grain starts to form. And then the wheat is golden. The darnel, as you can see, is kind of a brown, kind of a gray. The picture's not a really good picture, but it's the best we could find. But if you look, you'll see that the seed even looks somewhat similar to wheat seed, although not the same. And if you put a wheat seed in your mouth and bit on it, it would taste like, well, wheat. If you put a piece of darnel in your mouth and bit on it, you'd go, ooh. And you take it out and throw it away because darnel is bitter. And in fact, if eaten up of it, it will make you really sick. Okay, so what happens, you see, is that wheat and darnel, way back then, well, you really couldn't separate them very easily once they started. The picture that Jesus paints, the allegory that he helps the disciples and us to see, is absolutely clear and clean. They had problems in that time because the darnel would get in with the wheat, and once they started up, you couldn't separate them until the end. And if you intentionally seeded a field with darnel, can you imagine how much longer it would take them to actually harvest the wheat? Because the wheat had to be cut, each stalk by hand, and the darnel cut each stalk by hand, and that separated the darnel from the wheat. So it was a really laborious task. And so this enemy did something really destructive to this person that was the landowner, a fairly wealthy landowner at that. And so this darnel. Now then, it is an absolutely accurate description. But what does it say to us? It's pretty clear what it says to us. And Jesus said it right in his interpretation, his understanding, his explanation that he gave the disciples. In this life, you are going to have evil. Does anybody argue with that? No. Does anybody like that? No. But guess what, folks? Get a grip. It's real. It's going to be there. Don't be surprised, and don't feel so, why me, when evil strikes and causes you difficulty and pain. It's there. It's going to be there. Accept it. Deal with it. Do the very best you can, but accept it. That's the one thing he said. The other thing he said is even more important. There will come a time of judgment, and those who do evil will be destroyed. That's been promised by Scripture for a very long time, and it is absolutely certain and clear. You can rely on it. But there is more there. But it is beyond what you would normally, beyond what is clearly obvious in the lesson itself. You see, the problem is that every allegory breaks down somehow, or parable, breaks down somehow. Because you can't perfectly mirror real life that way. So I'm going to have you put your thinking caps on for a minute. Think about this parable of the wheat and the weeds. Darnell. Oh yeah, if you went to the King James Version, you would have seen the word tares, which is another way to say weeds. If you went to, let's see, Eugene Peterson's The Message, he calls them thistles. Where he got that, I don't know, but that's what he's got written down there. Most interpreters would say it was Darnell, and for the reasons that I've shown you. So where does it break down? Anybody want to take a guess on how this whole system breaks down? Where it breaks? Where it loses its connection to reality? My, it's quiet. Go. Now, the darnel doesn't kill the wheat. They grow the weeds and the roots intertwine. That's the reason you can't blow them up. The weeds are intertwined. I mean, it's absolutely accurate there. No. It breaks down in the fact that wheat is genetically wheat. Darnel is genetically darnel. It ain't going to change. Now do you see the difference? Are you perfectly wheat in your life? Are you perfectly pure and holy in your life? No. We are all a mixture of good and evil. It just is there. And what does that say then? We can change. We don't have to always be how we are. We can become more holy. We can become better. We can become more like Christ. How do you do that? How do you get rid of the weeds in your life? How many here love a really beautiful lawn? Stick your hand up. It's okay. It's okay. I spent a bunch of money and time trying to get a really nice lawn. I won't go down that road. How do you keep a lawn nice once you get it nice? There's lots of things. You can put fertilizer on it, water it, of course, yeah. And you can put weed control stuff on here. You know the best way to have a really beautiful lawn? Make the grass so strong that the weeds are choked to death. Try it. It's kind of cool. and that's what I did finally with the lawn we have. And so now I have a lawn that's just perfectly nice and green. It's Argentine Bahia, but it's perfectly nice and green. There's very few weeds in it. There's a few, but very few. What about your life? Do you want to get rid of the weeds, the evil, the stuff that you're not real proud of in your life? Did you ever think about choking it out? Did you ever think that maybe if you spent your time focusing on doing what God calls you to do, and what you know is the right thing to do, did you ever think that maybe your attention will be so much on that that you won't pay any attention to the evil and it will be gone from your life? Yeah. So you see, we are not perfect. We will never be perfect. But we can help to reduce the evil that lives within us. And we can become more like the people of God that we're called to be. And if we were more like the people of God that we are called to be, do you suppose others would say, wow, I want to be like that? Go back to the grass analogy. I want people to look at my lawn and say, wow, I want a lawn like that. Right? Enough said. My brothers and sisters, you have the opportunity to make a difference in the worlds of others, and a difference in your own life, simply by focusing on doing what you know God would want you to do. It ain't rocket science, folks. It isn't. It's hard work. It's not rocket science. And then the time will come when the end of the age will happen. And when the end of the age happens, what do you suppose is going to happen to us? You see, I believe that what Scripture says and what Jesus is saying here is that when that end time comes, all of the evil in your life will be removed, burned up, and thrown away. And you will then become the perfect person that God created you to be to begin with. And then you will enter the kingdom of heaven to shine like the sun forever. I'm looking forward to that day. I hope you're looking forward to that day. But in the meantime, as you continue to do and be in this world, let me give you a little help. If you look on the vase there in the back, you'll see these things sticking out. If you don't know that that's wheat, well, let me tell you, that's wheat. So if you take that stalk of wheat and you take it home with you and you keep it where you can see it so that it reminds you to do the very best you can to choke the evil in your life out so that you can be that good seed that God calls you to be. Don't forget, take one with you as a model, as an example, as a reminder. In Christ's name.